Are you going through silent struggles, watching doors close, and feeling underestimated by those around you? Don't mistake it for the end. It might just be the beginning. When God chooses to elevate someone, He sends unmistakable signs, but only a few are able to recognize them. And if you're seeing this, maybe you're one of them. Stay with me until the end. Your time might be closer than you think. There are seasons in life when everything seems still. You pray, you cry out, you wait, and yet heaven remains quiet. In that silence, your heart begins to wonder, where is God? Has He forgotten me? But what most don't understand is this: God's silence is not rejection, it's preparation. When He stays quiet, He's not ignoring you. He's working, not in the visible, but deep within you, in your character, in your faith, in your heart. Before God lifts you up, He shapes you. And to do that, He quiets the noise around you. You lose connections, opportunities, applause, but that emptiness has a purpose. It's in that hidden place, far from the spotlight, that He lays the foundation for your future victory. He teaches you to trust without seeing, to stand even when unsupported, and to worship Him even when there are no signs. Because when you learn to depend on Him in silence, you're being prepared to carry the weight of elevation without losing your soul. Think about Moses, 40 years in the wilderness before leading his people. Joseph, years in a prison before the palace. David, forgotten in the fields before he was anointed king. They all experienced long periods of silence when it seemed like nothing was happening. But behind the scenes, everything was being prepared. If you're in that place now, know this: God is closer than ever. He's arranging the unseen, refining your soul, removing what doesn't serve you, and preparing you for a destiny your eyes can't yet comprehend. Don't misinterpret silence as absence. See it as a waiting room for something greater. God never wastes pain, and His delays are never random. Every second of silence holds eternal purpose. And when He decides to speak, to move, to act, it will all make sense. Wait in faith, because if heaven is quiet, it means the earth is about to shake when God exalts you. How many times have you felt disappointed when things didn't go as planned? That perfect opportunity vanished. That dream job never came. That promising relationship fell apart. And in the middle of the pain, it's easy to believe something went wrong, that God wasn't listening. But here's what many still don't realize. When a door closes, it's not always punishment or failure. Sometimes it's divine protection. God sees what you cannot. While you're focused on the now, He sees the future. While you chase what looks ideal, He knows what could derail your purpose. What you call loss might actually be rescue. That door you desperately wanted to walk through, had it opened, it could have led to consequences you're not prepared for. In His mercy, God allows some paths to be blocked to protect you from wrong decisions, toxic alliances, and roads that appear sweet but lead to destruction. Look at Joseph. Sold by his own brothers, thrown into prison for something he didn't do. To human eyes, every door was slamming shut, but in truth, God was protecting him, positioning him for something far greater. Had he stayed in his father's house, had his journey been easy, he never would have reached the palace. The path was painful, but it was necessary. When you keep pushing and nothing moves, when every effort seems to fail, pause and pray, Lord, if it's not your will, close every door. Because the worst thing isn't missing an opportunity, it's walking through the wrong one without God's blessing. And when God closes a door, it's because there is no peace, no growth, and no future behind it. Learn to trust even when you don't understand. Sometimes God's no today is what will preserve your calling tomorrow. He shuts doors to open ones you never imagined. And when the right one opens, it'll be so clear, so filled with grace, that you'll finally understand why the others had to close first. Every closed door carries a message. Trust me, I know the way. Sometimes, right when you decide to walk in faith, to trust God more, to move toward your calling, everything around you seems to fall apart. People you loved walk away. Criticism appears out of nowhere. Problems hit places in your life that used to feel safe. And you wonder, why is everything going wrong just when I'm trying to do what's right? The answer may be deeper than you think. Often, when God is about to raise you up, the enemy senses it before you do and attacks more fiercely. The spiritual realm is real, and there are invisible battles happening all the time. When heaven starts to move on your behalf, hell pushes back. The enemy doesn't bother those who are standing still. He targets those who are moving forward. That's why sudden attacks shouldn't surprise you. On the contrary, they might be proof that something great is coming. The fiercest battles often precede the greatest breakthroughs. Look at Jesus. Before his ministry began, he was led into the wilderness and tempted by Satan. David was hunted like a criminal before he sat on the throne. Joseph was humiliated and forgotten before he was elevated. The pattern is clear. The greater the calling, the stronger the opposition. But here's the secret. Those attacks aren't meant to destroy you. They're meant to strengthen you. God allows them to test you, refine you, and prove that even in pain, you choose to trust him. Don't see your struggle as abandonment. See it as confirmation that you're on the right path. When you make the enemy nervous, it's because your life is threatening his agenda. And when you endure, stay firm and keep praying, even while tired, you are already winning. Remember this, just before the dawn, the night is darkest. Just before healing, the pain intensifies. Just before the elevation, the pressure increases. But don't give up. God is with you in the battle, and the very attacks trying to break you today will become the testimony of the strength he placed inside you. Stand strong, because if hell is shaking, it's a sure sign that heaven has already declared your victory is coming. There comes a moment in the journey of those destined for divine elevation when everything starts to shift, even if nothing around them seems to make sense. People who once overlooked you suddenly start to notice. Opportunities arise without you chasing them. Doors swing open without your effort. This isn't luck. This isn't coincidence. This is the favor of God reaching you. When your season of exaltation arrives, his grace goes before you, preparing hearts, opening paths, and setting the stage. And even if you can't explain it, you begin to sense you're being led by an unseen hand, the hand of the Lord himself. God's favor is nothing like human recognition. It doesn't depend on your resume, your influence, or your past. God raises up whomever he chooses at the time he appoints, and when he acts, no one can stop him. There are moments when you walk into rooms you weren't qualified to enter, but God placed you there. You form connections you never could have made on your own, but God orchestrated them. That's favor. It's heaven declaring, now it's my turn to move. The most remarkable part is this. Even in the middle of battles, you begin to realize you're being held. What should have broken you only made you stronger. What was meant to shame you becomes your testimony. Where others would have given up, you keep moving forward. It feels like a greater force is carrying you, and it is. Because when the favor of God rests on your life, even the impossible must bow to his promise. We see this pattern all throughout Scripture. Esther, a young orphan girl with no influence, becomes queen of the most powerful empire of her time. How? Favor. Daniel was promoted in a foreign land. Joseph ruled Egypt. None of them rose by their own merit. They were chosen and favored by God. And that same favor is available to those who stay faithful, even when no one is watching. When you start to notice things shifting for no logical reason, when people begin to pursue you, when doors that were locked suddenly fly open, don't be confused. That's not just life-changing. That's God lifting you up, and the more faithful, humble, and obedient you remain, the higher he will take you. Because divine favor not only elevates you, it sustains you when you get there. Don't fear what's new. Don't run from the unexpected. When favor shows up, embrace it. It's a clear sign. God is preparing you to walk into something greater, and it's closer than you think. When God chooses to exalt someone, he doesn't do it quietly or in secret. He waits for the perfect moment, not the one you think is best, but the one he ordained before time began. And when that moment comes, there will be no doubt, no earthly explanation. God will elevate you in full view, even in front of those who once questioned or rejected you. He makes it known it was his hand that raised you up so that no one else can take the credit. Maybe you've spent years feeling forgotten, overlooked, or misunderstood. You've served in silence, cried in private, walked faithfully without recognition. But God saw every seed you planted, every prayer you whispered, every tear you shed, and he is not unjust to ignore your faithfulness. His exaltation isn't just a reward, it's a response, a public fulfillment of what he once promised you in secret. The psalmist wrote, "He exalts at the appointed time." That means there's a divine schedule, even for your promotion, your healing, the fulfillment of your calling. And when that time arrives, God will accelerate what man cannot. He'll shift circumstances, change hearts, and place you in positions you never imagined, not because of who you are, but because of who he is. Take David, for example. Overlooked by his father, dismissed by his brothers, ignored by others, yet chosen by God. And when the time came, David wasn't just anointed king, he was exalted before the entire nation. God waited for the perfect moment to show that even when no one else believed, he had already made his choice. God's exaltation always has purpose. It's not about boosting your ego, it's about advancing his glory. When he lifts you up, it's so his name will be glorified through your life. That's why when the elevation comes, stay humble. Remember where you came from and who brought you there. And if you're still waiting for your moment, don't lose heart. Keep being faithful in the small things. Keep serving in the shadows. Because when God chooses to exalt you, no one will be able to stand in the way. Every delay will suddenly make sense. He is the master of turning pages, touching hearts, and accomplishing in days what couldn't happen in years. And when it finally happens, it will be so undeniable, so powerful, so divine. Even those who once dismissed you will say, "That had to be God."